So I'm going to start. Today we're going to talk about college and technical trade school planning. So the purpose of this is to really just give you the nuts and bolts of what you're supposed to do for gathering your transcripts. And that's for whether you go to trade school or college. You may hear us say college or university a lot, but it also pertains to trade schools. So typically when students go to college or they go to trade school, they need to provide their academic record or their transcript. Trade schools do want to see the academic record as well. They may not have as many parts of their application. So if you're going to go to like Lincoln Tech or UTI, you might not have to have a letter of recommendation. You might not have to have an essay, things that typically happen in the four-year universities. But we think it's important for everybody to have all of this information. All right. Okay, so our agenda for today, we're going to go over common terms, some things that maybe parents are not as familiar with. We're going to show you quickly kind of what we did during junior year. Senior year timelines, we're going to go through month by month. What should your child have done already in August, and what they should be doing currently, and then through June. We're going to go through the steps to actually like apply to college. We're going to talk a little bit about our college application checklist, and then finish up with the College and Career Center. We're going to explain to you what that is. And then we will have a question and answer portion. Because we're a small group, if you do have a question, you can raise your hand in the moment. All right, so common terms. The first thing is a release of records. So any students here remember that we're at the assembly today that remember what the release of records is? Yes?
Oh, it's like your parent or your guardian has to like fill out this form, or like you can fill out the form and then your parent has to like sign off on it in order to properly release the transcript.
Correct. So we cannot release transcripts to any entity, that is the military, trade school, universities, without permission. If your child is over 18, they can sign it themselves. We prefer parents to sign off on it. All you have to do is fill out on the section where it says the student's name, address, and phone number. That's it. Everything else is filled out. And on the back, you sign and date. We have a bunch of copies. So we would love, if you have not seen this form from your child, we would love for you to fill it out and leave it with us tonight, okay? Release of records. No, records aren't going anywhere without them. Application types. Students can apply directly to a website. So they could apply to Temple University. They could apply to Delaware County Community College. Or they could apply through this thing called Common App. Now I'm going to call on the parents. Do any parents know what the Common App is?
It's a universal platform where you put in your applications and it can send it to a bunch of different places all at the same time.
Yep.
It makes the application process a little easier.
Perfect. It is an application that goes to multiple schools. So the benefit of a student is they only have to put in their name, their address, their phone number, their classes, all that stuff one time. So it's a wonderful tool for them to use. Deadlines. There are several different deadlines for schools. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So rolling, you can apply whenever you want, and then once the school has all of the documents that they need, like a letter of recommendation, their transcript, all that stuff, they'll make a decision within 4 to 6 weeks. The benefits of that is you get to hear like kind of quickly. The downside is sometimes students wait really long, and the longer you wait for rolling admissions, the less spots are open. Regular decision. Obviously, there's a deadline and you apply by it. Anybody want to guess what a traditional regular decision date is? January 1st, yes, January 1st and January 5th. The next two are very similar, early decision and early action. Early decision is a binding agreement. That means if you apply let's say you apply to Penn as early decision or Villanova to early decision, you are committing to going to that school. So your child is saying, I'm attending there no matter what, all right? it's a legal binding agreement that you are making. So a student does have to have a sign off from a counselor, from a parent, and themselves that they understand that the early decision, if they get in, that is where they're going, and they're going to withdraw all their other applications. Typically with early decision schools, you will have to provide a financial form called the CSS profile. And that is basically I would say a pretty invasive document that you're going to talk about all of your finances. So things that are not asked on the free application for student aid or the FAFSA is asked on the CSS profile. So it's going to ask about if you own a business, assets in your business, if you own a second home, like all of those items are in the CSS profile. So early decision, they do make decisions sometimes financially. Early action is nice because you're not binding your agreement, right? That means that you can apply to as many early action schools as you want. You can, with early action, they'll tell you early, so they'll tell you in December, and you don't have to make a decision if you're gonna go there until about May 1st, okay? And then financial aid, we are not going to cover financial aid fully today. We are going to provide a virtual session for families in the next month or two that'll just give you kind of background knowledge about all of these things for financial aid. We do have 2 financial aid planning workshops. One is January 21st. The other is February 10th. I think that's what it was. Those workshops are application workshops. So you bring all of your financial documents to the school. There's somebody here from FIA who will walk you through, who will be able to answer any questions as you go through the financial aid forms. All right, FSA ID. This one is super important. Parents and students need an FSA ID in order to sign the FAFSA form. So as a family this week or the weekend, sit down together, go to studentaid.org, and both of you apply for an FSA ID number. Now, it doesn't need to be, I believe it does not need to be both parents, so if you're in a 2-income household, yes, it does.
So if you go to studentaid.gov, it will explain this, but one parent or guardian, how I explain this to students is who in your house handles the money. That person should be doing this. And the student has to have it as well. Setting up the FSA ID is extremely tedious. It's not difficult, but if you can think of anything that you can ever find on the internet to confirm your identity, like 2-factor authentication and confirming your phone number, they do all of that. So it's not difficult, but it's tedious.
Yes, and if you have an FSA ID number for yourself because you're currently enrolled in school, or you have an older child in school, you can use that FSA ID number. So you don't have to reapply if you have one already, okay? Super important. FAFSA, free application for student aid. Everybody should be filling this out. The FAFSA is a government form. You put in information about your income, your family, how much is it, how many people are in your family. The government computes some sort of calculation, and then they say how much is the family supposed to contribute on their own. You could have a family contribution of 0. You could have a family contribution of $10,000. That is how schools will determine financial aid. Let's say that your family contribution is $5,000. If your child needs $50,000 worth of aid, the school will take off that $5,000 that the government expects you to pay off the top, and that's $45,000. Schools will try to meet that $45,000 worth of aid. And some schools meet about 80% of that through student loans, grants, and scholarships. FIA is our Pennsylvania government. It's the Pennsylvania Higher Education, Assistance Agency. Could not think of it today during the time with the students. I was not running on coffee at that point. FIA is how students can get state grants. So there's federal grants and there are state grants. State grants are typically for students who go to school in the state of Pennsylvania. So if you decide to go to New York, you decide to go to New Jersey, you decide to go down to Maryland, you're probably not going to get a state grant, okay? Even if you qualify for it, you will not get it. Most of the grant is for students who remain within the state of Pennsylvania to go to school. The good news is there's a lot of schools in Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of schools where you could be really far away. Like my son was 4.5 hours away at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Nice and far. Maybe not for him. He might not have liked being that far. It was great for me. So FIA, at the end of your FAFSA, it's going to ask you, do you want to apply for FIA? The answer, or your state grant, the answer is yes. Yes, very good. Okay, yes, that's correct. And then you'll fill out a little bit more information. The CSS profile, it is through the lovely organization of College Board. And it is a financial, thanks, that's really what I wanted to do. I appreciate you. It's basically going to ask you a lot of information about your finances. So in FAFSA, they really ask you for income, and then like savings and some of your investments, and then your family number, and that's it. CSS profile is going to ask you if you have a second home. It's going to, if you have your own business, it's going to have you disclose a lot more information. And again, that's needed for mostly selective schools. So think Drexel, Penn, Villanova, schools in that caliber are going to require the CSS profile. Grants, free money from the schools that you do not have to pay back. And then scholarships. Scholarships can come from the school. So you could get an academic scholarship for having a certain GPA or a certain SAT score. You could apply for private scholarships, which I will point out on junior programming. We did a session last year for our students, and it is available for all of you to view about how to search for private scholarships. Very few schools give full rides to students. I think that's a myth. Students are like, oh, I'm going to get a full ride somewhere. Unless you're a Division I basketball player or football player, or you're like off the charts in like perfect SAT, perfect GPA, and you've like basically saved the world, probably not getting a full ride necessarily. But there are lots of schools that give out a lot of free money. All right. Junior year in review. This is what this form, it's half of the form. I made a screenshot. This form went out to you on September 12th. So your child's counselor, me if you're A to F, Miss Doherty if you're G to N, and Miss Vandermeulen if you are O to Z, sent an email out with a lot of information. We do know that we send a lot of stuff to you all. One of those areas was the junior year programming. If you can kind of see, we did a college workshop, we had an SAT scholarships. If you click on those Google Slides and you play it as a slideshow, you'll hear a combination of our voices that will explain each slide. So we don't just believe in giving you a Google Slides for you to read. We actually like to give some meat to those slides. So definitely take a look at it. For students who are unsure of where to start, you're still sitting here like going, I have no idea what college I want to go to. I don't know if I want to go to college. This is where they should start. Here is in that junior programming form. All right. So senior year timeline, the important things, right? What should your child have been doing? First and foremost, requesting letters of recommendation. So again, I'm gonna talk to the children. How do you request a teacher recommendation? Anybody remember? Yes, the teacher recommendation is through Naviance. You should talk to your teacher first and say, hey, Miss Stewart, will you please write me a letter of recommendation? Then you go and request it on Naviance. Teachers can say no to our students. They are not bound to write letters. So the more popular teachers sometimes put a cap, so ask early. Counselor, who remembers how to get a counselor recommendation? Come on, there's plenty of students in here. I see you all. Yes. I love our number one student back there. All right. For the counselor recommendation, you have to first complete what? Your brag sheet. And that is on Naviance. Yes, our favorite program. And then you send an email to your teacher, your counselor that says, I've completed my brag sheet. Will you write me a letter? And then we will take care of that. You should be registering for the SAT or ACT, or the students should have already done that, or registering for the November or December tests. Finalize the list of schools that they're applying to in the colleges I'm applying to tab in Naviance. Again, it says colleges I'm applying to in Naviance. If a student is going to a technical-based school, you still are using the platform of Naviance. You're still putting it into the colleges I'm applying to. If you're using the Common App or direct to the institution and they require an essay, you should be working on your college essay. Again, junior programming, we did a workshop on essays, so if anybody needs a brushing up of that, please take a look at that slideshow. Email or deliver your authorization form, which we'll get done today. I'm going to re-say this in case anybody came in. This authorization, if students do not have it completed, that gives permission for us to send off transcripts. We will not send them no matter how many requests a student makes. So parents, sign it today. We have copies here before you leave. Sign this if you have not seen it yet. Finish your brag sheet, and then make plans to visit campuses. Fall is a great time to get on campus. There's a lot of open houses, and I think that we have probably like 30 schools within like a 25-mile radius of Upper Darby. So you have a lot of different schools that you could go visit for open houses. October. Students who have a November 1st deadline, we need 3 weeks in advance to have, I should have started with that. Sorry. I'm going to start with the college technical school application checklist. There's a yellow sheet, which it's back over there. We have a yellow sheet. If a student wants to get a transcript, they need to write down all of their colleges on the yellow sheet, and then they have to physically see us because we sit down with them. In order to meet the November 1st deadline, we need at least 3 weeks, which means if a student has a November 1st deadline, they have to meet with us with the yellow sheet by October 3rd. This does not mean that students have to apply by October 3rd. They just have to have the documents in Naviance, the release of records, and then they sit down with us. If a student wants to apply on October 31st, if they want to submit it at 10:30 or 11:45 p.m., that's fine by us. We, though, need October 3rd to be able to make sure that we upload all of those records. It takes for each student that we have to process their yellow checklist, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes. There's a lot of forms that we actually have to fill out with a lot of information. So times that by, I have 350 something in my caseload. Ms. Vandermeulen has about that, and Ms. Doherty she's probably up to about 375. So it's a lot of students. We can get it done as long as students are adhering to that. So if a student comes to me on October 24th and they're like, Ms. Morris, I have a November 1st deadline, there's no guarantee that I'm going to get the documents sent there by the November 1st. So students should also be double checking the college application deadlines, continue finalizing that essay, submit any early action, early decision applications before the deadline, and then start the financial aid applications. According to the website, FAFSA is going to open on October 1st. We will see if it happens. Did anybody have a child that graduated last year or the year before? It was a delay, yes, there was a delay. So we'll see, but plan to start your FAFSA form. And then November, you're going to finish up your applications, transcript requests. You really want to kind of be done. Students should want to be done by Thanksgiving, right? The longer they extend the process, the more stress they're going to feel in senior year. And how many seniors feel stressed out over applying to schools? Yes, parents feel stressed too. So yes, good things for students. You should send thank you letters to the people who've written you a letter of recommendation. That's a very kind gesture that they went out of their way to do stuff for you. Complete the financial aid applications by each college deadline. So what that specifically means is on a college website, they will have a financial aid priority deadline. That means if it's February 1st, you want to get your FAFSA in before that priority deadline of February 1st. If you submit financial aid application after that priority deadline, you may not get as much money as you could have if it was in before that priority deadline. So you don't want the pot to run dry on you because you fill out your FAFSA form in May.
When it comes to applying, whether it's early action or early decision, one good thing about applying early is that you're often more likely to get scholarships. So one way I like to explain the difference between early action and early decision. Early decision is a huge commitment. It is like getting married. You can only apply to one college early decision, and it is a huge commitment. There's a lot of paperwork, and there's contracts. It's legally binding. There's all that. Early action is like dating. You can apply early action wherever you want. You can apply early action as many places as you want. And there's no legally binding thing with that. It just means that your applications are all done, and you can stop being so stressed out sooner, and you're also at a lot of schools more likely to get money. So if students have all their stuff done on time, there is no reason not to apply early action if that is an option at the school that they're applying to. So just to recap, early decision is like dating or getting married. Early decision. It's like getting married. It's a huge commitment. Early action's like what? Dating. Apply early everywhere if they were so inclined. All right. So when it comes to what to do in December and January, if you have a January 1st deadline that you're going for, we need that yellow sheet by December 1st because there's a lot of deadlines that are January 1st and January 5th. And over break, I do not plan to be processing applications the entire time.
And again, students, you can give us the yellow sheets, put all your stuff in Naviance, give us the yellow sheets by this deadline, and you can choose to submit your application before, like, the day of the deadline, right? So it's not like you have to submit your applications by December 1st. You just need to see us by December 1st.
Yeah, if you give me the yellow sheet on December 1st and for some reason you are still finalizing a January 1st deadline while you're watching the ball drop, as long as it hasn't dropped yet, I'm okay with that. So February and March, this is where it's a good idea to go and visit campuses that you haven't been to yet. It is it's a very good idea. Highly recommend. Please go to a campus before you ultimately decide to go there and give them all your money. Now, if your kid like me and when I was 17 and wanted to get as far away from home as possible, maybe what you do is you wait until you hear back from the school, wait until the financial aid package is good, and if both of those things work out in your favor, then go check out the school in person. So another thing is, when you're in February, March, you want to be applying for scholarships, applying for these private scholarships. You have to apply for scholarships until you graduate from college. It is a marathon and not a sprint. And to be honest, most of the scholarships that you apply for, you're never going to hear back about. But if you apply for enough of them, then you will get more money than if you wouldn't have. And it's a pretty big payoff. It's just something they have to keep chiming away at.
I just want to put in a plug. I meant to, I believe it's a December deadline, but there is a scholarship called the Gates Scholarship. For those of you who've been around, it used to be called the Gates Millennial Scholarship. It is a last dollar scholarship. There are certain requirements for students to be able to get the scholarship. I believe you have to be first generation. There's a bunch of criteria. However, I think everyone should look it up. Gates Scholarship. The application is due December 1st, I believe it is. It's a great scholarship if you get it. It provides last dollars, including travel. I mentor kids in a program. We had a student who actually got that scholarship. He was going to California for university, and they paid every time he went back and forth home. So they paid the plane ticket. So that was included in that last minute dollars. So again, the Gates Scholarship, I highly recommend that everybody look up. If you meet the criteria, you should have or if your parents, if you look it up and your child meets the criteria, make them apply.
February and March and the rest of the year, students, you got to keep working hard in school because colleges do watch out for senioritis. For those who don't know what senioritis is, it's when students stop doing their work as much as they should because they think that they're done. But what colleges sometimes do is they get the final transcript and they see that you had an A and B average all through high school. And then your last semester you were getting D's. And they might send you a letter saying you better explain yourself.
Also, all acceptances to colleges are provisional. So a student isn't officially accepted until the college receives their final transcript. So we have had an instance in our school where a student had tanked senior year, was going to go to a selective school, and they rescinded the offer. So it does happen. So seniors, you really should be strong all the way through.
And as you hear back from schools, keep updating Naviance. If you remember the scattergrams, which are the fun graphics that show who got in and who was denied to all the different schools that they applied to from Upper Darby High School, this is where that data comes from. We promise not to judge you, and also other students in the future, they won't see that it was you. They'll just see that it was a data point with some numbers on it. Also,
parents were sent an email for their Naviance login. So as a parent, you do have access to Naviance. You can't add schools and letters of recommendation, but you can kind of see what your child is working on. And you can also use the search component where you can see the scattergrams of like where students have gotten in for our schools.
April, this is probably where you're going to be deciding where to go. So y'all as families, you talk it over, take a look at all the financial aid and all the other information. You will probably have to send in your enrollment deposit by May 1st. The enrollment deposit is a few $100s that basically tells the college, I'm going to be coming to your school in the fall. So please set aside a dorm if that's applicable and also some classes for me.
And this cannot be waived. So even if a student has received a fee waiver for their application, they have to put down the deposit money. So something to think about over the next, what do we have, 9 months until May, 8 months until May?
Speaking of May is when you go into, take a guess what program it is. Naviance. There we go. Go into Naviance. Tell us where you're going next year. That is where we're going to send your final transcript.
And just to think about how to think about Naviance as our programming is, Naviance is the database where students tell us what they need and then we send it to the college. So it's not where they apply to college, but they do need to use Naviance so that we can submit their records to their schools.
June, everybody's looking forward to June because that's when graduation is.
June 10th, mark it on your calendars, parents.
A lot of you probably already have. There we go. And also, students, you got to keep watching your email because this is where your college, your trade school is going to be sending you important information like how to sign up for classes. And also, this is why when you are filling out your applications, do not list your school email address. List your personal email address and something boring like yourname@gmail.com is perfect. Okay, you are probably thinking this is a lot of stuff and I cannot remember all of it. I'm a first generation college graduate myself. My parents basically told me, go forth, we support you, but we don't know how to answer your questions. So I do not believe there are any stupid questions when it comes to this stuff. However, I don't have time to answer all the emails that I'm getting, and neither do any of my coworkers. So what we did is we posted to the Class of 2026 Schoology page. We posted a whole bunch of information, and the first link on the college application planning folder, which under materials is the blue one, the first link is a guide that says how to apply to college and trade school. And it is a Google Doc. The Google Doc, I will warn you, you might open it up and think, what is this? It's 20 pages. The reason that it is so long is because it's a lot of pictures, a lot of screenshots. There's a table of contents. And some representatives from Memorial Government looked at it over the summer. They said that it's really helpful. They said that we definitely need to put the table of contents in, so we did. And the idea behind this is that as your student is working on their applications, they keep referring back to this because it shows you all the various steps and what to do when you're doing your applications. What I would recommend that you students do is, as you're working on your applications, keep this open in another tab so that you can keep looking back at it.
Also, the reason why we mostly have it digital is because there are links in there. There's like a video on how to match Common App to Naviance. There's a lot of links in there with for help for our students. Also, parents, if anybody read my our September 12th email, we did mention Schoology in there because this is one of the ways that we are communicating with our students. In addition to sending emails, which you are on, I would say 99% of our emails that we send to students, they're also being mass sent out to parents. You can have access to Schoology if you already have reached out to a teacher for your child's login. You probably can see this. If you are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'd love to see Schoology for my child, reach out to your counselor. We can give you parents a code that you would then sign up for Schoology, and you could see what your child has access to in there. The reason why it's a parent code and not the student login is because there are some things that are redacted in there. So Schoology is a place where our teachers will post like discussion questions, and so all students will answer. So you will only see what your child answers, not what the whole class does. But it's a really great tool, particularly for the class of 2026, because this is where we post everything. It's usually our first question to the students. Did you look at Schoology? So plug though, parents, if you want to be in the know, in addition to emails, this is another way to be in the know. And also, if you or your student has a question about how to do college applications and you look here first and you find the answer, that is way faster than waiting for me to email you back. Okay, so just to go through this really quickly, there's various steps to do when you or your student is applying to post-secondary institutions. And the reason that we have to do these in a specific order is essentially if the paperwork and the applications are not done in the right order, then it could mess up the process of getting all the paperwork processed by the school as well as it should be. If anybody is thinking back to the turn of the millennium or possibly earlier, was applying to colleges, I had an envelope and everything went in the envelope, and then I went to the post office and I mailed it from the post office. Everything's digital now, and in some ways it's more complicated than back when we just went to the post office. I just want to point out these page numbers on here are the specific pages in that guide that we just talked about. This is where you can find all these steps on those specific pages. So just really quickly, step one is add your schools to Naviance so that we know where your student's applying. Step two, if your student is applying on the Common App, which most of our kids do just because it works out better that way, they have to match their Common App and their Naviance. Step three is you have to mention FERPA. Oh, FERPA.
Thank you. FERPA, without getting into all the details, it's a federal law that basically governs access to your students' information. And there's something called the FERPA release and the FERPA waiver. It's explained in the guide for more detail. If you don't do the FERPA waiver and the FERPA release, then that messes up the process of sending all your information over. Step 3 is requesting the recommendations. The teachers are requested through Navia. Oh, y'all are awesome. Okay. And your counselor by email, it's a little bit different for teachers versus counselors. Okay. Step 4 is to bring us the yellow sheet.
It's one sheet for multiple schools. All right, we'll have some for you to take if you want. They just list out the schools if they're doing Common App or if they're going directly to the institution. And this has to be like, I have to say, Miss Vandermeulen, here is my yellow sheet. I can't just drop it in her mailbox and then float off into the universe. We do check. We will open up Naviance with your child or with you, and meaning students, and we will go through the Naviance account to make sure that all the schools are correct. For example, Penn State is a big one that students don't always get 100%, because when you go into Naviance, Penn State has about 12 campuses that you can apply to. However, Penn State, all applications go through Maine University Park. But if a student is like, I'm going to apply to Penn State Brandywine, so logically I would pick Penn State Brandywine, but that's not how the system is set up. So it's really a checks and balances for the student and for the counselor to make sure that the documents get sent correctly. If a child puts in here that they are applying to Penn State through Common App, and then they change their mind, or they put it in incorrect, they put Common App because that's the default, but they really applied to Penn State through their website, and we send off the transcript through Common App to Penn State, we cannot reverse that. And so the transcript will literally sit in limbo and will not get to Penn State. So it's really important that what's on this yellow sheet is matched in Naviance, which is why we're a stickler of having to have an actual dialogue with the counselor. Super important. We all want your documents to go to the correct place. Also, quick plug at this point, when you apply to college, or when students apply to college, they should be using the name that's on their birth certificate. That's attached to their social security number, right? Please, if for some reason your name is not correct in our system, children, you should know because you can go into Hack to see, you need to correct that through us. I had a situation where a student went by her middle name for the entire time that she was through our system. When she came to go to, I thought it was her first name, to be honest with you, because that's what it was listed as, first name, right? She comes in and is like, my college didn't get my transcripts. And I was like, I definitely sent them, I remember. And it comes to find out that her mom registered her with her middle name as her first name. And then when she applied to college, she applied it with her actual given name that's attached to her social security number. And so the college could not match those two things up. So it's really important that the name that's in the Home Access Center matches to what you have on your social security number. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to find you in the system. And then you're going to be mad at us because you're going to say, we didn't send your transcript. And we're going to be like, we sent it. And then it's going to be a lot of calling the school to try to find in what abyss does it live at Temple.
All right, so when it comes to step 5, every time a student applies to college, say you're like, hey, I just finished my Penn State application, note that in Naviance. So what we do is, if I see that a student has submitted their application, then I click all the things that send the transcript, that send the letters of recommendation. Again, if we do that in the wrong order, that could really mess things up on the college's end and create aggravation that is not necessary. And step 6 is this is where you apply for financial aid. Hopefully the FAFSA will open on October 1st the way it's supposed to. We'll find out. every college has their own, and trade school has their own list of things that are part of the college application. Some schools, like Delaware County Community College, have a very short list of things that they require. Some schools have a very long list of things that they require. And we have these blue checklists that, the idea is that a student can take one for every single college that they're applying to and go through and say, either I did this or it doesn't apply to me. The blue sheets are so popular that we ran out and we need to get them reprinted. But there is also, in the 20-page guide, one of the pages is that. Yep. So you can save this yourself. This is what we just went over, some things that might be part of a particular school's application. They all require an application. Some require an application fee. Sometimes we can get those fees waived. We'll get to that in a little bit. Sometimes you have to list all of your extracurricular activities that you've done throughout high school. Sometimes you have to do an essay. That's a really common thing. Fortunately, most students can write one essay and send it everywhere, which is an improvement from the early part of the millennium. Some schools have something called a self-reported transcript, which I really hate, I will be honest. But applying to a school that requires a self-reported transcript and you don't do the self-reported transcript, they'll just say that you didn't finish the application and they're not going to review it. We can help you with that if needed, but just watch out for that. Students who are applying to art programs, for example, they might need to do a portfolio. So watch out for that if that's applicable. And financial aid applications. Everywhere in the United States, with the exception of 3 schools, which I don't think anybody's here applying to anyway, requires the FAFSA. The FIA application, I say even if you're applying to schools out of state, just do the FIA application anyway, because you may get a few $100s and it's better than leaving money on the table. The CSS profile is, like Ms. Morris described, it is a financial aid form that is the FAFSA, but way, 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 way more detailed. Schools that require the CSS profile include Drexel, include Villanova, include the University of Pennsylvania. And if you or your student is applying to a school that requires a CSS profile for financial aid and you don't fill it out, then you don't get any free money.
Yep. And even if you feel particularly with the FAFSA, you're well, I know what my income is and I don't think that I'm going to get any money. You still want to fill it out, because if your child does end up earning a scholarship or receiving a scholarship from a university, they may require the FAFSA anyway. My son had a full tuition scholarship to IUP, and I had to fill out the FAFSA every single year, even though I was thank you for telling me I get $0.
And there are some colleges that have their own financial aid form, and if you don't fill that out, then they don't give you money. So if they tell you to fill it out, then do it.
All right, frequently asked questions. We went over this with our students. These are questions that we've actually received this school year, and a little bit at the end of last year. Does Upper Darby High School register for students for the SAT or ACT? What is the answer? No. All right, bonus, parents, not students. Where do you register for the SAT? Online. College Board, yes, online on College Board. Very good.
There's also a link on the material section in Schoology. There's a folder that says SAT and ACT information, and we put the links in there too.
Yep, full stop shop. All right, can my student receive a fee waiver? This is for the SAT, particularly for the SAT, ACT, and then even college. The myth that goes around is because our because our school is a Title I school and we participate in the federal free and reduced lunch program, which means that every student, regardless of financial need, receives breakfast and lunch at school, that all students qualify for a fee waiver. That is false. So pretty much what happens is we have a document that says what students would qualify under the federal guidelines. We can check that list first. If a student is on that list, they can receive the fee waiver. If your child is not on that list, there is, if you go on to the easiest, and it's what I do whenever I send an email to a student, is you would Google, if you do College Board SAT fee waiver eligibility, it'll take you to that page and it'll tell you how you can qualify for a fee waiver. One of those links is you click on the federal income guidelines and you look to see how many people are in your household and how much money falls in the under poverty. I forget, there's like 4 or 5 columns. And so if you fall within that, that means that your child can, even without being on the list, qualify for a fee waiver for us. We just need additional documentation. So we're going to need a form filled out, and we need to see the taxes to verify the actual income that's on that sheet, and then a student can get a fee waiver. Particularly for colleges, one of the reasons why going to open houses or college visits is a good thing is because a lot of schools will give fee waivers for just visiting their college. So they'll say, here's your fee waiver. You came to see Shippensburg University, we're going to waive your application fee. So getting on the college campus will help you with some of those fees if you do not qualify for a fee waiver. They can be hefty. I would say probably the average is probably $50 to $75. Probably some of the selective schools are probably up to $100 at this point. I know. So if you don't qualify, there are ways to try to get those fee waivers. Where do I find my students' transcripts? This is a big one because, again, that STARS report, the student has to put in all of their academic record, or a student wants to know their GPA. Transcripts are found in Home Access Center, under grades, and then transcripts. So parents, if you log into Home Access Center, if you don't have issues logging into Home Access Center, you can also see your child's transcript, okay? How and when are transcripts sent? We did review that. Yellow sheets, Naviance, see the counselor in person. When in doubt, follow the steps in the college application guide. Who completes the college application? Does anyone want to answer us? The students, yes. I know, but this is definitely a question that we've been asked. So the student is responsible to complete the college application. Now, because we do know that some students do have questions, and it can be very frustrating when you're sitting in front of a college application and you don't know the answer. So we have offered, we started with 4 college application workshops. We had 1 last Friday. We have 3 more coming up. Students can register for those. The links are on Schoology for the student to sign up. It's during Flex. They'll get a pass to come on down to see us. They bring their Chromebook and they fill out they begin their applications. Any questions, we're right there to answer. Will my student's counselor write a letter of recommendation? Yes, we will. Unlike the teachers who can say no, you can't choose the counselor to write your letter of recommendation. So you're stuck with us. Whoever you are assigned to will write that letter of recommendation. Not all schools require a counselor recommendation, so we might ask you, what schools are you applying to? There are schools that require them, some that don't. When you log into Naviance and you put in the schools under the colleges I'm applying to, it will show you right then and there. When in doubt, check the college website. And then this one, will my student's counselor enroll them at DCC for dual enrollment classes? Anybody know the answer to this? The answer is no. We don't enroll students in dual enrollment. The students do have to complete the application on their own. Dual enrollment is a really great opportunity for our students. What dual enrollment is, students apply for dual enrollment through Delaware County Community College, and then they take college classes while they're still enrolled in high school. This gives a student a great way to practice going to college. The class counts, but you still have your high school counselor to go to support for if you're struggling. We highly recommend that if families can afford this, it's about somewhere between $300 to $350 with the fees per course. Upper Darby campus should be opened January for the spring semester, so our students would not have to go that far to go to dual enrollment. If your child is interested in dual enrollment, we recommend applying now because students should be picking their classes for the community college by but definitely by the end of October, beginning of November. If a student waits until the semester starts at DCCC, they're not going to be able to enroll in classes. All right. So super important if you want your child to have that experience. We also, if you're like, but I'm the application feels kind of daunting, like I don't understand. In the junior programming sheet, we have a slideshow that is narrated that will walk families through the steps of dual enrollment. All right, the upcoming college fairs, Delaware County Regional College Fair from 9 to 11:30 at Newman University on Tuesday, September 30th. Yes, please take a, this is a field trip that is full. So no more students. If you did not sign up for this, the field trip is full. However, parents, if you want to take your child or send your child on their own, they would just need an absent note the next day for missing school. And they can go because it is open to the public. So it's not just for people who are bringing students there. And then the regional, Philadelphia Regional College Fair is on Tuesday, October 14th from 6:30 to 8 at Thomas Jefferson. College fairs, even in senior year, can be helpful because you can meet the representative that is going to read the application. So it's a great way to put a name to that face. The other way that students can get in front of college reps without going on campus is to go to the college rep visits that happen here at Upper Darby High School. So each day we have, I would say most of the Monday through Friday, we have people coming either at Flex or during the morning time. It's a virtual session for our students. Students can look who's coming and when and sign up through Naviance. So encourage your child to go to those rep visits. Some of them end up only being a rep and one student or a rep and 3 students. That's really nice one-on-one or small group setting that they can get their name put to the face. So if they know that, you know, let's say Eastern is coming and Eastern is your child's #1 school, go to that rep visit. And then we have a College and Career Center. We are staffed with College and Career Center staff. Students can go to room 255 to meet with our College and Career staff. Bonus, Miss Catlett, who is our head college and career counselor, she not only works here, she works at DCCC. So for those students who go and enroll through dual enrollment, once you do your dual enrollment application and you get what's called the DCCP number, which is your student ID number for DCCC, she can help you with the rest of the steps. But you have to do the application and get the student ID number first. But definitely if you need additional support, you want to talk through some things, go to the College and Career Center. All right, thank you so much. Please fill this out before you leave. Right over here.